Hello, and thank you to those of you who have clicked on this video. I am definitely outside of my comfort zone right now because one, I get the heebie-jeebies when I see myself on video. And two, I am not really a big social media poster because I truly believe that nobody really cares about the goings on of my life, except for maybe the people who are closest to me and see me on a regular basis anyway. Maybe that's true, maybe that's false, I don't really know, but you're here and I'm grateful for that. So I hope that you stay to hear my story because I'm sharing this story for anyone out there who either can relate because they've experienced something similar, or because they want to celebrate that with somebody, or because they're feeling a similar inner turmoil and they're looking for a way to solve it. So hopefully if you're watching this video today, you can either celebrate with me or have some new idea birthed inside of you that is going to come to fruition very soon. So today I'm actually going to share with you the story of the birth of my business, bookkeeping. And it starts with a journal entry, no pun intended for you accountants out there, but a journal entry that I made in my diary on February 15th of 2010. As I was sitting in a parking lot during my lunch break, dreading going back to work. And not because I had a terrible job or anything. I had a great job and I worked for a great employer. But as you'll hear from my journal entry, I think you'll start to understand why I was dreading going back to work. I simply just wasn't in the right place where I needed to be in my life. I do believe that all of us have a purpose and we were created for that purpose. And if we're in the wrong place, we definitely do feel some tension. So I think it was at this stage of my life that I was beginning to feel that tension and recognize that I maybe wasn't where I should be at that point in time. So before I begin, if you haven't already figured it out, I just want to let you know that my faith is a big part of my life and therefore it is a part of this story. It's not meant in any way to push my beliefs onto anybody, but I can't leave out the one who is responsible for this wonderful gift. And I hope nobody's offended by that, but if you are, simply stop the video now. So here begins my journal entry that I am going to share with you. Something has been weighing heavy on my heart, and although I have been praying about it consistently, I don't feel the answer has come to me yet. I feel that I am a prisoner to someone else's schedule, and unfortunately, that schedule doesn't work in my life. Here are a few reasons that apply. I only get to spend 9 hours per work week with the children that God gave me to raise. Sorry, I have to turn the page. It's not easy to videotape yourself and read out of a book. Yet I spend 60 hours per week preparing for and commuting to work and actually working. Since my limited amount of time with them during the week is so precious, and because I'm exhausted by the time they go to bed, if not before, my chores all get pushed off to the weekend, robbing me of time with them on the weekends. To make matters worse, I only get to see my daughter every other weekend. By the time I pick the kids up, they are hungry, tired, and whiny, which, if I wasn't already hungry, tired, and whiny myself, I am by the time I get home with them, making the little bit of time we do get somewhat unpleasant at best. While I am trying hard to stay healthy, my inability to work out at prime times is taking its toll. I can't work out in the morning because I need to be to work for 7:30 and I have no access to childcare before 7 o'clock. Not to mention, I am not willing to sacrifice any more sleep as I am already exhausted a majority of the time, and getting up at my current 5:45 a.m. is crazy enough in my opinion. I have tried to work out during my lunch hour, but by the time I get there, change 2 times, and get back to work, I only get a 30-minute workout at best, and that needs to include a warm-up and cool-down. Plus, if I'm on a roll with something at work, I don't always like to take a lunch. I also don't like to it also interferes with any errands I need to run because lunch is the only convenient time I have to run them without having to drag the kids in and out of every place. Having a 2-year-old that likes to rebel against the car seat makes this an extremely annoying endeavor. Evenings are not the time for me to be going to the gym because it would cut into the pitiful amount of time I have with my husband and kids, and who has the energy for a really great workout after dinner anyhow? Certainly not me. Plus, after all the fitness classes I enjoy are always in the middle of the workday. I feel like I'm always breaking Lexi's heart because I can't do the things that some other moms can do, like help out in the classroom, chaperone, field trips, eat lunch with her, etc. Plus, many of the fun activities for kids in the community take place during the day, and we can never take part in them unless I take vacation time. No offense to anyone, but 2 weeks of vacation time isn't nearly enough to accommodate all the days off school, fun activities, neglected work around the house, and, God forbid, an actual vacation. All I want is the courtesy of letting me decide how I am going to accomplish all of the items of my day, both work-related and otherwise. A typical day probably won't look much different, but the atypical days will be what brings my career and motherhood from good to great. I know there is a way to have a family and a career without feeling like one has to sacrifice one for the other, and I am determined to bring this innovation to reality. So that was my journal entry in 2010. Fast forward to June 2011, and I had asked my employer if I could reduce my hours to 30 hours per week to try to get more time. And originally I was told that I could do that, but then about a week before it was supposed to happen, I got called into the office and was told that they were not going to take any duties off of my plate, which to me was a nice way of saying either stay full-time or find another job. And so he basically very nicely said to me, and I said, I'm not going to stay working full-time. And he said, okay, well then we'll talk about transitioning you out of the organization. And he said, I'll give you some time to think about it and have you come back into the office this afternoon and let me know what your decision is. So I went back to my desk, and honestly, I didn't even really give it any thought. And then all of a sudden I was called back into his office and I had to make a decision on the spot. And it felt so incredibly right at that moment to just resign and give my notice. And I did not ask my husband or tell him this was happening. I just went ahead and did it, which, by the way, I do not recommend. It did not go over well. But I did decide to quit. My son was 3 at the time. He was my youngest, and he was going to be starting kindergarten in 2 years. And I really just wanted to have an opportunity to see what it was like to do the mom thing and be able to just be there for my kids. And, you know, I had no idea how this was going to go, how we were going to make it financially. It was a complete leap of faith, but it felt very comfortable for me, and I took it. So I did leave in June of 2011, and I did the mom thing for a couple of years, and I loved that. But there wasn't enough. I needed more stimulation. And so I was doing the books for a friend who has rental properties during this time, and I was doing it from home. It was very nice. It was convenient. I really liked it. So fast forward now to July 2013. My youngest is heading off to 4K, and I'm, what the heck am I going to do? Sitting around eating bonbons and watching soap operas is not really an option. And besides, I really don't think I'd be happy doing that. And so I needed to do something. And if you remember the seed that I planted when I wrote the journal entry in 2010, well, it was about to sprout, and I had no idea. But there was a spiritual gifting class being offered at my church, and I took the class and discovered that my strong spiritual gift, which I guess it wasn't a surprise to me, was financial stewardship. And having always been an accountant and loving numbers and math and all of that, I wasn't surprised at what the gift was, but I was surprised that it was a gift from God. I had no idea that having that kind of talent was actually a gift from the Holy Spirit. And once I found that out, it just opened up so many doors for me, because it made me realize that, wow, I do have a purpose, and I can use this gift to fulfill that purpose. And right at the same time that I was taking this class and making all of these revelations, I got a phone call out of the blue from a company in Utah who said, have you been thinking about starting up an accounting business? And I was like, yeah, how did you know? And I'm sure I must have been doing searches on the internet or something, and they probably got my name from that. But their reply was, well, we're not really sure. We just get leads from an organization, and then we follow up on those leads. Well, anyways, I did hire them. They were a business consulting firm that helped individuals start up businesses, especially ones in the accounting field. And shout out, by the way, to David Sherwood and Brent Middleton. Thank you so much for all you did, because 5 years later, 5 years plus later, things are going very well. So thank you. But they gave me all of the tools that I would need, so I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. They gave me some forms to get started with, and they taught me all about networking and how networking can help you grow your business at little to no cost. And so I joined a couple of networking groups in my area, and from there, Prosperity Bookkeeping was born. I got my first few clients, and it's been growing ever since. I now have 4 part-time employees, and I couldn't be happier. So for any of you out there, I guess the moral of this story is, if you're struggling and you're just feeling like you're not feeling it, even though you might have a good job, you might work for a great employer, but it's just something feels off, don't be afraid to do some exploration and start thinking about, what are your talents and how could they be used? And maybe it means starting a business, maybe not. Maybe it just means making a career change. But definitely listen to your heart, because it certainly can pay off. And just, beginning to write those thoughts down or put those thoughts on paper could be birthing something wonderful. You just never know. So I hope everyone enjoyed this story today. I appreciate you listening, and I look forward to hearing any comments that you guys might have on this story about maybe the similar experiences that you've had or struggles that you're dealing with. And I would love to hear your feedback. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.